Hi, I'm Katrina Cruz, and I am doing my Lakota Way project on the topic of bravery. And I'm bummed I can't meet in person because I really love talking in front of people, but I guess this will do. Hi, Marcia. My topic of bravery, chapter 9, started with the myth of Hoka. And Hoka was a preteen boy, teenage boy, right about that age, 13 or so, that was invited for the first time to be a helper in a hunt. And a helper, their job was to assist the hunters and to demonstrate their bravery in defending the camp, because it was, if they were able to defend the camp, then it was indication that they would be ready someday to defend their home front, the Tioshbai. So Hoka went on his first hunt, and the first day went really well. They got 2 big elk. They came back to the camp. They processed the meat. They tanned the hides, or not tanned, but took care of the hides. I'm not a leather person, but anyhow. And then the next day, they still needed to go out on the hunt again. And so they left Hoka behind to defend the meat, to defend the prize. And Hoka started his day rather boringly, just staring around, very alert, very vigilant, but the biggest excitement was these little magpie birds up above that were very obnoxious. They would gather and they were swarming over the meat and making all this noise, and they were dive bombing, and he kept throwing mud to try and get rid of them. And, then he also realized that these magpies were kind of like a big advertisement, like, hey, the meat's over here, come visit, and so he got really, really alert. And then all of a sudden, the magpies stopped making noise. And that was not good. So he gets really, really alert. Something big must be out there to be able to scare off birds up in the sky. And his mind immediately goes to a few things like yellow cat, wolf, or a bear with a hump. And, the wolf he's not as worried about, it doesn't seem like. But as the day goes on, he looks out in the woods and he sees, glimpses of something here or there. And finally is able to just say, you know what, I think it's a bear. I'm pretty sure it's a bear. And so he does the smart thing in this situation. He climbs a tree because at height, bears, he would be able to see the bear coming, and the bear probably wouldn't be able to climb the tree. So he's up in the tree and he's looking down, and then he gets a clear view of the bear. And so he draws his bow and his arrow and he lets it fly. And he thinks he hears a yelp, but then he doesn't see anything. And he waits a long time up in the tree, still ever vigilant. And then the magpies start coming back. And he's tempted to chase them away again, but realizes that the magpies are sentinels, that they're letting him know if anything's coming. So he welcomes them, honestly. And he waits and finally cautiously gets down, goes, checks the area, sees a little bit of blood. So he did hit something, but there's no animal there. So anyhow, the hunters come back and they say, hey, how was everything here? And Hoka says, oh, it was fine, whatever. But we might want to post an extra guard tonight because I heard there were bears around here. And that's kind of the end of that. Until many years later, when he's been renamed Defender, and he's married and has a little girl. And his uncle, who was part of that hunt, came to visit her and gave her a gift. And I'm reading this from the book. He came with a gift for his granddaughter. He brought an arrow. As her mother and father were listening, he said, a bear gave me this long, long ago. He received it from one of the bravest youngest men he had ever met. And I give it to you now, granddaughter. Hold it in your hand and let its spirit pass on to you so that one day you will grow up to be the mother of brave hunters and warriors. It belongs to your father, one of the bravest men I have ever known. And that story, it really does strike me like that's quintessential bravery. I mean, Hoka had the choice. He could have run off and tried to find the hunters. He could have run home and not faced such a big adversary at such a young age when he had never gone on a hunt before. I mean, he was skilled with his bow and arrow, but he knew he wasn't a great match for that kind of an animal. But he knew his responsibility and he didn't shirk it. As I was looking into bravery, as I was thinking about what I wanted to say, I thought about defining it, going to Merriam-Webster, or having the students in the class tell me what they thought bravery was. But really, when it came down to it, I feel like we all know what bravery is. In fact, I feel like in most cultures, if not all, bravery is valued. And so we don't have to explain why it should be valued. We all think it's a great thing. I do think, however, that bravery today can be misunderstood easily. The example I have is about a month ago, my husband and I were talking about the Carlisle school, and I was telling him how appalled I was about this. Like, why? Why was this ever okay? You know, why did the American government think this was a good idea? And why did the Native American families agree? Like, as a mother, I can't send my 3 sons off in a train, and I couldn't. And I was indignant, and I was appalled, and I was upset. And my husband looked at me and goes, well, I would have sent them. I was like, no, what? I was a little upset, and I calmed myself down. I'm like, really? You would have sent our kids off to Pennsylvania to be taught by who knows what and all that? You know, oh, yep, here's one of them. See, there he is, getting ready for Thanksgiving. Thank you, buddy. I'm finishing my project. Yeah, I couldn't have sent him. Well, not every day, but most days I wouldn't have been able to send him off. And anyhow, I was so upset, and I thought my husband had lost his marbles. And he said, well, no, but Katrina, you've entered a world that you don't understand the rules, you don't know the language, but yet it is going to be the prevailing culture that your children have to grow up in. Absolutely, they need to learn it. And it would have been the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. But I would have sent them to give them a better life. And I didn't like that answer. But I couldn't necessarily deny the sincerity and the reasoning behind it. And so then I sat there and I thought more about these parents and about these kids. And I realized that without this virtue of bravery, there is no way you could have faced an obstacle like this. Like, the mothers must have clothed themselves in bravery. The fathers must have held it around them as a warm blanket. And those kids must have clung to each other and just repeated to themselves about being brave the entire time, because how difficult would that be? And how amazing is it that they were able to hold together and show that in such adversity? As I was also researching bravery, I came across this TEDx talk, and it's done by another young boy named Joseph. He's actually a Chinese boy, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. I apologize because I don't have a way to record myself and my screen at the same time, so I'm going to hold up another computer, and it's going to be awesome. But what I want you to know about this Joseph is that upon giving this TED Talk, he had only been in London for 9 months. Just keep that in mind while we try and see how this goes. Let's see, and
my name is Joseph Boshan Wang. I came from China. This is my first public talking. I will be talking in English. When I came to London with my parents in August 2015, I couldn't speak English, but I had to go to a primary school in London taught in English. It was totally foreign to me. I like talking. My mom always worries that I'm too talkative, that one day she said to me, "Since you're so talkative, why don't you try a TEDx talk?" That was definitely a great idea. So I said, yes. My experience tells me that if I give it a go bravely and practice with determination, things work pretty well actually. It's not as hard as you think. When I started to go to school in London and learn English, it was hard hard because I couldn't say what I wanted to say. Once there was assembly. There were 4 musicians visiting our school, and one of them asked a question. Why does piano have black keys and white keys too? I knew the answer, and I desperately wanted to tell her. So I stood up and heard myself mumbling, sorry, I'm not good at English. It feels so bad when you knew her but can't say it out loud. Although it was embarrassing, my teacher said that she was really impressed at my bravery and encouraged me to try again.
Right. So that's a story of Joseph Wong. And I was really struck by that this is a boy who was dropped into another culture in a school that he didn't speak any of the language, and he learned it because he wanted his voice heard. But the thing that really, really struck me is how his teacher approached it, that she recognized the moment when he was extending that bravery, and she affirmed it. And that's what I was most struggling with in this piece was, as a math teacher, how do I bring that virtue of respect in? I don't necessarily give a lesson on bravery to my students. However, I can affirm the brave steps that they are taking every single day. I can be their biggest cheerleader. I can stand in front of them and encourage them to do more brave things. This is my other son. He's going to say hi. No, go away. Thank you. All right. I can affirm those things, and I can be their cheerleader along with their parents to do those things and just show them the power of their bravery. There was one last quote from Joseph Marshall that I wanted to share. And he said it that we believed that it was in everyone to be brave, but we also knew that boys had to be given the chance to learn they could be brave. And I think that's what we can do as educators. We can provide opportunities for our students to learn that they can be brave with the content, with just life, any of those things. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful day.